The world is always on, but you shouldn't be. Put junk sleep to bed. During Mattress Firm's Labor Day sale, get a king for the price of a queen or a queen for a twin and save up to $700 on Sealy. Talk to a sleep expert and unjunk your sleep today. Mattress Firm.
Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile, the podcast. This is episode 185 called Catie and Ryan.
Hello, Infertile AF listeners. This is Blair Nelson over at Fab IVF Mama on Instagram and the host of the Fab Fertility podcast. I am also Allie's business partner and partner in crime. During the pandemic, after we met through the podcasting world and over on Instagram, we decided to start a business together, Fertility Rally, which is an online membership and virtual events platform for anybody and everybody struggling with infertility to grow their families. So I'm here to invite you to join our membership. We open the first of every single month. And as a member, you can count on a very deep support system. We offer 4 weekly virtual support groups. We offer curated virtual events throughout the year, private Facebook groups, and also our member website that is full of blog posts, videos, you name it. If you have a question about infertility, I promise you can find an answer from one of those avenues, whether it be the website, a support group, or the Facebook group. Basically, it's what we wish we would have had when we were going in through infertility. And honestly, it just warms our hearts. And it is our passion to help this community through podcasting and through Fertility Rally. So if you are looking to up-level your infertility support system, we are here for you. So don't forget, we open the first week of every month, just the first week. Go to www.fertilityrally.com/membership to join us. And you can use code InfertileAF10 for $10 off your annual membership or $10 off your first month. We really hope we can meet you soon over the internet to teach you how to rally like a mofo. Enjoy the show.
This episode is supported by RECEPTIVA DX. The RECEPTIVA DX test can help couples struggling with unexplained infertility. Getting pregnant isn't easy, as so many of you know. Many couples struggle with infertility, and unexplained infertility can be particularly frustrating. Women facing unsuccessful IVF may not know that endometriosis is the underlying cause, a disease that can impact the success rates of IVF treatments and often has no symptoms. The RECEPTIVA DX test can help identify endometriosis before an embryo transfer, and it has the potential to save women the stress, anxiety, and cost of multiple failed IVF attempts. The good news is, multiple studies show treatment of women with a positive RECEPTIVA DX test improves live birth outcomes by over 50%. RECEPTIVA DX can detect all stages of endometriosis and help women make better decisions in planning for pregnancy. You can learn more at receptivadx.com or download their app, which is also called RECEPTIVA DX. Today's episode is sponsored by BEEBIZY, the #1 party planning app. BEEBIZY was founded by mom of 2, Layla Marshall, who struggled with the party planning process for various occasions. She wanted a safe and easy-to-use platform that quickly connected party throwers with various party vendors. BEEBIZY takes away the stress of planning while bringing your wildest party ideas to life. Whether it's a bridal shower, a bachelorette party, your dog's birthday party, BEEBIZY is the app to use. With BEEBIZY, you can search for vendors in your area and book in just 3 clicks, from cake bakers to DJs to florists and beyond. BEEBIZY is the trusted platform used by thousands. Party pros can create a business profile and be easily booked by searching clients. Interested in a little more hands-on help? BEEBIZY also offers in-house event planners to make sure you don't need to lift a finger. Check out BEEBIZY, that's BEEBIZY.com today to get started. Thanks, BEEBIZY. Okay, guys, so today we are talking to Catie and Ryan, who I met through Fertility Rally when Catie joined our Rally fam. And they're going to tell us all about having their baby, who is actually going to be here any minute now. They're talking about everything from unexplained infertility to 5 IUIs, to Ryan's super sperm, as they call it, to miscarriage, to the anxieties of pregnancy after loss, and so much more. Ryan has also written a book called Finally, an infertility book for dudes. And I want you guys to all go check it out because it's really good. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's relatable, and it is very needed in this world. So without further ado, this is Catie and Ryan's infertility story. Catie and Ryan. Hello, guys. How are you?
Good.
Doing well. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for doing this. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. I love conversations with couples because I love to hear kind of both sides of, what's been going on. So let's start at the beginning with you guys. How did you get together?
We met in college.
Yeah, college party at my house on campus back in our end of our sophomore year. So back on the East Coast, we're on the West Coast now, and met at college. And then you went home for the summer, and then we kind of kept talking. Had a class.
We had
next
a class
year
together, and we were research partners.
Okay,
we became more than research partners.
Yeah, there you go. There
All
you
right, wait.
go.
Tell me more about this college party.
My sophomore year of college, our house was pretty rowdy. We had a 10-person house, and it was 2 different group of friends that kind of came together, and it melded well. So yeah, we had a pretty big party house, and you had come. I had known your friends.
Yeah, my friend brought me. I was kind of sad because I had gotten dumped, and they were like, "You need to get out." So I was like, "Okay." And then
I don't know what day of the week of it is, but we were definitely hanging out.
Saturday.
I mean, you can tell them what I was wearing.
Oh, he was wearing this Jack Daniel's t-shirt.
Okay.
With, basketball shorts, and he had flip-flops with socks on.
So it was that kind of laid back drinking party.
Okay. That's hot. I think that's hot.
We have a picture from that
We
night.
do have a picture,
We have a picture from that night, which is pretty cool.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I was instantly attracted to Ryan because he was so outgoing and funny.
Mm-hmm.
So I, even though the outfit was horrible, I was like, "Oh, who is this guy?"
Okay. So fast forwarding a bunch, when did you guys realize that you were going to end up together, get married, build a family, and all that stuff?
Probably after college, I would say, because
not the night with the sandals and the Jack Daniels.
Not that night.
No.
I mean, you see so many people with college relationships, and you never know where they're going to go. And then I would say after college, when you kind of settle into the real world, and you get.
And I could have gone back to Oregon, but I stayed in New Jersey.
Okay.
And lived and worked there. I moved pretty close to Ryan's where he was living.
Okay.
And that was kind of me being like, okay, you're my person.
And it kind of, it became even more adults pretty quickly then, I feel like, because it was right after college. You were living with an apartment, and then you were in New York too. And I was back home with a lot of people go back to their parents' house. And then I feel like we kind of grew up pretty quickly. And then it was like, I think this is going to be forever.
I think I decided, and I didn't let him leave.
It's tough after college period where, especially when you're from the West Coast and I'm from the East Coast, what's happening?
Right. Exactly.
And then I think as we grew into our relationship and our careers and stuff, I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
Let's do this. We have a good thing going here. So there's no reason to change.
Okay. Well, as a Jersey person myself now, I'm urging you guys to move back to the East Coast. I'll take care of the baby that's on the way. Spoiler alert.
I will send this to my mom, and she will be on your side.
Okay. We'll team up and get you guys.
And then my mom will come after you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
All right. That's true.
We have some different New Jersey and West Coast teams, but luckily all the teams get along. And then
Team Jersey.
So,
but
I'm in Team Jersey too.
Tell me about when you guys started to talk about having kids and when you started to try. What happened?
Okay. I feel like it was just assumed. We never had a conversation before we got married about
we didn't.
Do we want to have kids? It was just I don't know. And I think you're supposed to do that.
I think we always knew we wanted to be parents. And then, our 30th birthdays kind of came around. And I remember distinctly, Catie was like, okay, let's start thinking about kids here. And she was definitely, I guess, ready earlier than I was. It was right after we had moved to the West Coast. There was a lot of change. I am not good with change. So we were kind of deciding whether we were ready for kids. And I was probably about a year behind her where I was like, okay, let's do this. And this was, again, right after our 30th birthdays. We had a farewell tour that we like to say, which was we went out a bunch of nights. We went to Hawaii on vacation. We did all that stuff. And looking back, it's so funny saying that. I remember Catie specifically telling one, it's the farewell tour. It's the farewell tour. We're going to have kids. Right. We assumed that a kid was coming, and this was, we're going to be pregnant soon by the end of the year, and this is the farewell tour, and that was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
And I think we even used like the hashtag farewell tour on some Instagram posts of us.
Okay. Right. That makes sense. Cause you're like, all right, the next phase, we're going to be like hunkered down a little bit more. You're not as free to travel and all that stuff. Right.
Yep. And the hotel we even stayed at in Maui, it was like everyone on their baby moon. And we were like, oh, this is perfect. Like this is giving us a sign,
Okay. Yes.
Our final trip. And then we're going to go and get pregnant and then we'll come back and,
right. So were you guys using birth control before that? And then you like stopped using it or what?
Yeah, I was using birth control up until our wedding.
Okay.
And then I went off of it just because like I read stuff and I was like, oh, like it's just messing me up. And I went off of it and then I like broke out. My face was a mess for like a year and a half afterwards. It was crazy.
And then I think we started using condoms for a little bit.
Yeah, we did. Because I was like, I'm not going back on birth control.
Yeah. And I'm not ready for a kid yet.
Yeah.
So I was like, we'll just do this again. I guess this is kind of weird going backwards to this, but here we are.
Right. So. That is kind of weird. You're like, I feel like we're in college again.
This is strange.
Yeah.
I think we even did that for a couple months. Cause I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for it yet.
Okay. So was there a point where you guys were both ready and like, you're like, all right, it's happening now. Now we're officially trying?
Yeah, that's once we got to that farewell tour, and it was April of 5-6 years ago, whatever it was. I remember I was on a work trip, and when we were coming back, it was like we're planners. I mean, we're type A, everything's planned. So it was when you get back from this work trip, the goalie is pulled again. We're like telling everybody, just assuming that it's going to happen, and it was like let's do this. We're ready now, and it didn't go to our plan. That's for sure.
What happened?
That is for sure.
Well, so again, we're super planners. So I started doing the ovulation tracking. I bought all the books. I wasn't to the level of waking up and taking my temperature. I just I couldn't do it. I knew I'd miss a day or do it wrong. And so I was just doing the ovulation tracking and had the app on my phone. So we did that for like 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. We were expecting it to work within that first 6 months.
Right. Were you getting concerned when it wasn't working? Like nothing was happening. So you weren't getting pregnant. You weren't having losses. It's just nothing's happening.
Nothing happening. Yeah.
Got it.
I think I was getting more frustrated than worried. But I did go to just an OB/GYN and they were like, you look fine. Come back in a little bit. You're still young, then I'll refer you. Like they always do.
And that's when I went and got tested at that point. Cause you were more concerned than I was. And I went to my, my general practitioner at that point. I think it was at 6 months and it was like, can we do an analysis here, a sperm analysis? Again, same thing. The common story of everything's fine. You're young. There's nothing obviously wrong. You're going to be good. Just takes time. And it was like, okay, well, I guess, he agreed to do the sperm analysis and everything was okay on my end. We were nervous about that because I had been on Accutane in high school, the
side effects,
acne drug. And top side effect is to be infertile and affect your fertility. So we were panicked about that for sure. And when everything came back normal, I mean, this was my mindset and I was way behind her as far as like research and being nervous. Everyone was telling us that, you're healthy, you're young, everything's fine. So 6-8 months in, once I got the clean bill of health, it was like, oh, we're good. There's no need for anything else here. It's just going to happen. But then month after month of failed attempt, it just starts to pile up.
After his, pause, like everything's great. I went and then I was like, okay, I'm going to go. Like I need to go to a fertility doctor. And so I got referred and then again, like everything came back fine. And then they were like, you have unexplained infertility. You're like,
awesome.
Yeah. The worst thing you could ever say.
You're like, what does that mean? What did they say? Like, we just don't know why, but it's not happening for you? Or how did they explain? I mean, it's unexplained, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was basically like they looked at Ryan's sperm and they were like, wow, that's great. Like, they were like, wow, his sperm's great.
Bravo, Ryan.
And he was like super proud.
Yeah.
And
True.
then with me, they were like, yeah, I mean, everything looks great. Like, we don't see anything that could make it seem like there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You did all the testing, the dye stuff.
Yeah, I did that horrible
stuff.
dye test.
Yep.
I did. Yeah, I mean, everything came back. My blood tests.
Mm-hmm.
We were nervous about thyroid. Totally fine.
Okay.
I did tell her, like, I had painful periods. So did my mom and my grandma.
Uh-huh.
And so in the beginning that you weren't worried about it, but then after a while, I mean, I don't want to skip.
Yeah.
But
it was in the back of your head.
Yeah. The back of my head was like, because I thought it was normal to have really like painful periods.
Okay. Yeah. So had you always had like painful periods all through high school,
forever.
College, all that? Okay.
Yeah. Well, not when I was on birth control.
Gotcha. I love to talk about the relationship piece of this since I have you both here. What was going on in your relationship? I mean, I've been very open about the fact that my husband and I we almost split up. Like, we were at such different places in our heads. I had secondary infertility. He was like, we're good. We don't need another one. Like, why are you putting ourselves through this? And I was like, I will die if I don't have another child. Like, I was just so on the opposite spectrum. It's true. And so what were you guys going through?
I would say at that point I didn't even realize until looking back at things how we were such on different pages at that point. Again, I was just so laid back about it. This is all going to work. And I mean, when we started going to the fertility clinic, you were taking it all on.
Yeah.
You were the one going to all the appointments. This was pre-COVID. She's going to the appointments during lunch. You're doing all the blood tests before work. It's by your office. And I'm kind of doing my thing for the day. So I feel like our relationship was still strong, but looking back, I wasn't the best partner at that point. I wasn't fully invested into it. It almost, as unfair as it is, it felt like it was your medical thing that you were dealing with. Yeah. And I didn't know how to be a part of it.
Yeah. The way we operate too is like we divide and conquer. So like in the beginning, I was fine. It was like, well, it's my body. Like this is my thing, my task. I'm going to like just take over and do it all. Because he can't, I mean, what is he going to do? He's not going to, take my blood. So I was fine in the beginning, but then after lots of bad news over and over, it was kind of like, oh my God. And dealing with insurance companies is like another job.
Yes.
And I didn't know that was going to be so much work.
And that's all stuff I wasn't helping with. I wasn't helping with insurance companies, setting up an appointment, or I don't know. It just wasn't on my radar as much as it should have been. It's like,
I feel like that's really common. Like, it often the onus falls on one of the people, most of the time, the woman, just because, like you guys said, but that's tricky when insurance comes into play and you're like, God, this is a whole nother layer of complications and like bullshit that you have to deal with. Yeah. Were you guys like fighting at all, or like, what was it like behind the scenes?
It was weird. I mean, I feel like it actually made us stronger.
Okay.
But I feel like we fought before when I was like ready to have a kid and he wasn't.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, we weren't fighting at that point. We definitely later on had communication breakdowns for sure, where, I mean, when it just carries on for years and years, there was times where we were, and we can talk about this now, where we had to like sit down and have like a real conversation. Kind of sounds like something similar that you had to go through, where it was like, okay, we've been like talking about this stuff for the past couple of months, but are we like really, really talking about like what we're scared about, what we're feeling about this? I mean, the scheduled intercourse every week and day after day, and the breakdown of your intimacy together. We had to sit down and have a conversation. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this time. So I'm not having fun anymore. This is too much. The backdrop of it being unsuccessful every month is like too much for me.
Totally.
I can't do it. I feel like a machine now, and I just have to get this done.
Yes.
So that was a big communication breakdown. And some of like, I mean, they were never just fights. It was just like disagreements of, you need to be more invested researching this sexually. We have to figure this out because it is not working right now.
Totally.
The pressures of it all.
Yeah. I remember there was one point, again, sorry for TMI, but my husband and I were like, after months and months, and I was just like, I'm crying. He was like so frustrated. And I was like, just stick it pregnant. Like it was just like the least sexy sex ever.
Yeah.
Like it was just the worst. And I remember feeling so gross and we were both like, ugh, like, I don't even like you, like it was just like terrible.
It is. People don't talk about enough the relationship part of it.
Love you, Vince, by the way.
Ryan, because I'm like very like planner and I'm just, okay, like let's just do this now. And he's like, wow, like thanks.
Right.
It got to the point where I was like,
no.
Look,
You'd say no.
Me walking into the room, you being under the covers on your phone, completely naked, saying, let's get this done. Just not doing it for me anymore.
It's not doing it. I get it. I'm glad
I can do it for a couple months like that, but after that, like, it's just not happening anymore.
100%. 100%.
Okay, I guess we'll stop doing that. And it literally, I mean, that conversation literally changed everything.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you guys were able to have that conversation. I think that's so true that, it's so hard on so many couples in so many ways. So was there a point where you guys, it did start to happen, like diagnosis started to happen, you're going through treatments? Obviously I gave the spoiler that you guys are expecting a baby right now. So when did it take a turn and like start to get a little bit better in terms of what you guys were going to do?
Well,
I mean, the unexplained infertility just hung over us for a long time. We did the IUI stuff. We did 5 IUI attempts, and we thought those would be the solution, like so many people think.
Ryan was so funny. The first one, he was so optimistic, so positive. He was like, he refused. He was like, we're not doing it medicated. We're just not. He's like, I believe that it's just going to work. And I kind of was like,
it sounds
okay,
like it's going to get the sperm.
Let's be a team. He really wants, like, if this is the thing, he thinks medication's overrated, sure. And then it didn't work. And then the one didn't, and then the next 4 were medicated and those didn't, nothing worked.
Yeah. So were you guys seeing, meanwhile, like people around you, like your friends getting pregnant and things like that? Like, so how did that feel?
I mean, I helped plan multiple baby showers, but for me, I don't know. I guess I'm really good at like pushing everything down. It runs my family. But it like a lot of people like can't plan the baby shower, can't go to the shower, can't walk into the baby store. And for me, it was more like, keep me busy. If I can't have a kid, I'm going to make your baby shower the best baby shower. And I'm going to buy the stuff that I want to buy for myself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
you're always a great gift giver. That's one thing that Catie does well, even for, we know how hard it is to have a kid and get pregnant. So if it is easy for some of our friends, we consider them lucky. We want to send a great gift. Yeah. And we want that to do something meaningful. So it's kind of always been our attitude on it. But I know it was definitely affecting you more at that point than me. I mean, when we were doing the IUIs, I was still so positive. It just everyone around us, again, the doctors were so positive. It was like, this is just going to happen. So I still wasn't being affected by it at that point. I mean, definitely later on.
The Clomid did make me like, I do not cry. And I was like crying all the time.
Okay. Yeah. Clomid crazies.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So it's affecting you.
Yeah.
I mean, with the IUIs, I expected the success. I didn't know the stats on it all like I do now about how unsuccessful they actually are most of the time and stuff like that. So
I know. And they make it on paper, it sounds so good, right? They're like, oh, they like wash the sperm and find the best sperm and put it exactly where it needs to be. And you're like, oh, duh, this is totally gonna work.
Exactly.
And Ryan had his super sperm. So
Ryan, your super sperm.
Easy, no doubt about it.
So you did 5, and then were they like, okay, let's move on to IVF? Was that the next?
Yeah.
And that's when it really started to set in. The unexplained infertility stuff, not having an answer, super frustrating. Great, because there's no, huge issue, but also just super frustrating at that point. Right. And that's when I think it really started to turn for us.
Well, when you get the big box of all the medication.
Yes.
That's when it's like, oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. And how was it going with the insurance? Like, were you guys able to get some stuff covered?
Yeah. I mean, so we had insurance through Catie's employer. So we had free health insurance. So her company provided for both of us. So I was on her insurance plan, and I always viewed my insurance plan through my company as kind of not great and expensive. So we never signed up for it. And then right before we started IVF, my open enrollment is in July for my company. And we had our first IVF cycle pushed back because of COVID. We skipped a few months. And during that time, I had just never really researched the reproductive benefits that I had. So I looked into it. And right before, literally the week before we started IVF, we signed up for insurance through my company. So we were double covered then, and they covered a good portion of it. Not all of it, but a huge, huge portion. So we were lucky that for the years that we've gone through IVF, we've been double covered through both of our companies, and it saved us a ton of money. So that's, and I was just putting it off. I just being lazy, not preparing financially for it. I mean, that's something I think that's so important too, is just, you're going to be going through so much physical pain, emotional pain, to prepare financially the best you can, whether that's looking for grants or putting aside some money from each paycheck to pay off a bill, or looking into your insurance companies.
We set up a baby fund for IVF because there are a lot of out of pocket, like out of network
expenses.
That's such a smart, like, pro tip. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just paying even the small, like a $500 bill that may come up, and just knowing it's coming from that fund as compared to that savings account that you've been looking at, and is at a certain number. Just something in my mind. That
Exactly.
Was deal with.
Yeah. So how did that first round of IVF go?
Long.
Yeah, it was long.
What happened?
Yeah, the first we did frozen embryo transfer. So we both are genetic carriers for some like really random diseases. Yours is Hurler's disease, and mine was Tay-Sachs. I don't know if I said that right, but so my doctor was like, we're gonna do genetic testing, and we're like, cool, that sounds great. So we did the retrieval. We found out I'm really bad with anesthesia and get really, really sick. In Oregon, they just do the retrieval and you're like half awake.
Okay.
And then there's like no really recovery room. They just like put you in a wheelchair and then off you go after 30 minutes. I did get a recovery room, and I was there for like 2 hours.
2 to 3 hours, with your recovery.
Because you were so ill.
Oh my God, I was so nauseous.
Oh God. Had you never had anesthesia before?
I think just like wisdom teeth.
Okay.
That was a long time ago. It was like different, but yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely something we realized throughout the journey is that she gets very sick from anesthesia.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the retrieval went well.
Yeah, we got 20. I mean, again, this was stuff that I just had not researched beforehand, was just kind of that IVF attrition rate and all the how you're going to lose eggs and fertilization. We got 25 mature eggs, 21 that survived, 18 fertilized, and then they went out for genetic testing. Yeah, 10 made it to day 5, I think. And then out of the ones that were genetically tested, 5 made it to the freezing portion through the first egg retrieval, which was weird. And I mean, it was great. It was a great number. We beat the IVF attrition rates, but at the time I wasn't aware of that. So every phone call felt like a devastating blow of like, oh, we're down to this. And it was like, what?
Yeah. So you had 5 embryos?
Yeah, we have
that
5
were going to be tested. Okay.
You know,
5 that survived testing.
Yes. Well, it's not that they survived, that they are genetically normal.
5 genetically normal. Okay.
So we sent 10 to get tested and 5 came back.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for me, I was like, wow, we have to have 5 kids now.
You're right.
Like just being so naive. I remember joking, being like, oh, okay, like I guess we're gonna have 5 kids.
Right.
Thinking that it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
And just
exactly. I think so many people think that. I thought that too. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, great. Here we go.
Yeah. So then we did a transfer, frozen embryo transfer. We just did one because we're cautious, and it worked. And I was like, wow, we're so lucky. I just like couldn't believe it.
And I was told you so. I was in the, we're young, healthy. I'm still on that team, and like, oh, we did all this and this is great. It's absolutely worth it. But like, of course you're pregnant, obviously. Like this has to work. So that's where I was.
Yeah. And then it didn't work.
And then we miscarried after a few weeks. So that was our first experience with
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It stunk.
Yeah.
It was sad, but it was weird too with the relationship stuff then too, because that's nothing that we had experienced together. And I do think we were on different pages then too. I was so next step, not getting into the grief with you. And I was kind of like,
but at the same time, that first miscarriage, spoiler alert, there's more.
Yeah.
I popped into positivity pretty quickly because I remember telling people, at least I got pregnant. And I know infertility people hate when people say that, but
At
I
least,
was saying that because I just was like, that was the first time I've ever gotten a positive pregnancy test. And I was like, wow, like at least we know now I can get pregnant. This is huge.
Yeah.
So we switched pretty quickly to being positive. And then I don't think we waited that long.
No, we were pretty quick with the second transfer. We did 2 embryos this time for our doctor recommended, and neither of them stuck at all. No positive pregnancy test. And we were like, whoa, that was shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Right.
Not have at that point. So
because she was pretty positive, like, well, you got pregnant that first time. This is definitely going to work. Like, we'll put you in. How do you feel about multiples? She even talked to us about like reduction if there's 4 babies.
Right.
Like, well, let's wait a little bit. Like, let's see what happens first.
Right. But you're thinking, okay, we probably at least get 1, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's when, I mean, we had been talking about endometriosis throughout, and that had kind of been back to the painful period stuff. But that's when our doctor was like, okay, now you have to go and undergo a laparoscopy to check for endometriosis, which drove, I think, both of us crazy. I don't want to speak for you, but just the fact that endometriosis can't be diagnosed without a laparoscopy.
I know.
All the imaging, all the tests we have.
It's so wild. Yeah.
What do you mean this can't be without you going through surgery?
That might have been the most scared I was through the whole process. Like even the retrievals and the like frozen embryo transfers, just because I was completely out and they were like cutting me open.
Right.
And it could be all for nothing, or we could find out this huge news that could in turn.
Yes.
We could have a baby.
I feel like that procedure, like the stakes are so high, right? Like it's like, it could be something terrible or it could be nothing, but either way, it's like a big thing.
Yeah. So we did that.
They found moderate to severe endometriosis and it was removed, which was amazing. I mean, I'll never, again, the anesthesia stuff. Katie was sick.
Katie.
I was there for so long. They were like working overtime, just trying to get me able to because you have to go to the bathroom before you're allowed to leave, or you have to get a catheter.
Right.
So the nurses were just sitting there like, oh my God, this woman.
Right.
And so I finally was like, just do the catheter. Like, I just need to leave.
We had an afternoon appointment and they were expected to leave. And I think they were trying to leave at 5 or 6. And
it was like 7:30.
7:30. The one woman had a call for her babysitter to come for her kid.
Oh,
we told them though. We told them, and this goes to advocating for any fellas listening for their wives. And we told them, we said, hey, she is sick. It takes time for her to come off anestosia. No one listened to us.
Oh, really?
They said, no. They said half an hour, you'll be good. It's not that. We're like, okay, whatever you say.
Okay, call that babysitter. Yeah.
Yeah. We're like, okay, not our fault. But I mean, I'll never forget you crying in that recovery room and just so happy that they had found it and that we had kind of gotten an answer.
Yeah, we finally got an answer.
Right.
So I was like so happy. It's like 1 year. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. Cause it feels good now. Cause then you have a plan, right? So it's like, okay, now we took care of that. And maybe the next time it will work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have the long layoff after that, the 3-month recovery with the time ticking away and everything. And, we're going on like a year now with our first cycle of IVF. And then we, for the last one, we wanted to, what ended up being the last one, we wanted to do 1 embryo of our 2 that were left. We were super confident. These are our worst graded embryos, but we were confident.
The endo's gone.
The endo's gone. Again, we're young. It's going to be great. So we decided to do 1 embryo. We get to the hospital for the transfer that day, and the head of the department comes in and we're like, this is different than other times. And they said there had been a mistake. By accident, they had received from our fertility clinic the report to unfreeze both embryos, and there should have been a change report sent saying to only unfreeze 1 because that was our decision, and that never came across. So both had been defrosted that day, and they had collapsed during the day. Both collapsed. So our choice was to try and refreeze 1 like we had originally wanted, but survival chances weren't great, or go ahead with both. So we ended up going ahead with both that day.
So what did that feel like? Sorry to interrupt, but to get that report, like they fucked up.
Yeah, so I was like already laying down ready, like with my legs
full
up.
Bladder, getting checked out, the whole thing sitting there.
Yeah, I think we were so shocked that we couldn't say anything. We just were like, okay.
I was pissed off. Yeah, I don't get angry often. I'm pretty level-headed with things. My hand was shaking in a fist, sitting there, and "Are you fucking kidding me?" was about to be screamed at them at that point. It didn't come out, and it was, "Oh, it's your decision. You can refreeze one, and but it may not survive and stuff." And it's like, well, is this even a decision? Like, are you guys
and they
kidding
were
me?
basically telling us both are collapsed. They could rehydrate when we put them in. So they're basically telling us it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
super disappointing.
We just were like,
up by them. In the end, I think it saved us some time with another transfer in the end. But yes, it was super frustrating. We walked out of there that day, hopeful. We just had 2 of our last embryos implanted. Right. We walked out of there with a huge cloud over our heads.
I'm so sorry, you guys.
We didn't know what to do. It was just like silent shock.
Yeah, we were pretty quiet that day.
Yeah,
it was actually a sunny day in Portland, and it was pretty cloudy for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they actually did work. I did get pregnant.
You did, yeah.
And it was like, what? Maybe
it was meant.
Maybe this is meant to be, and then it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, another miscarriage.
Miscarriage.
How long did that one last? The pregnancy?
Not long.
No, a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. It wasn't like any. Right. We didn't even get to like an ultrasound.
Right.
And that one was really hard. I don't know why it was harder than the others.
I think that's when I first started crying about things, honestly, because for me, that was, our first IVF cycle was over. It was having to go back to the beginning.
Right.
It's, and, I hear other people that have gone through so many cycles and all this stuff. And I don't know how you do it because this one was prolonged too. We had, we were lucky to have 5 embryos. It was over a year of us going through everything and the laparoscopy and the transfers, but it was shocking to have to go back to the beginning and remember all the sins and everything. Like, how are we supposed to do this all over again?
Yeah. And I think they told more people about this last one. So like having to tell my parents and
we had the hope after the laparoscopy.
Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
My dad was crying.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was horrible.
It was July 4th weekend.
It was July 4th weekend.
It was July 4th weekend. Yeah.
So was this 2021?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was like the dark time. And that's when Ryan, I was more like onto the Peloton. I get my aggression out on the bike.
Right.
Out.
Yeah.
And then Ryan decided, we were talking and.
Yeah, it was that weekend that the book kind of came about. Was after that first IVF cycle was, again, a dark time. I was looking for resources or something. Yeah. I gave into it. I surrendered. I took the big wall down, and that's when the book kind of came about. That it was time to write something about this. It kind of started as a project just for me. It was cathartic to write all this down.
Get it all out.
Well, we know, don't know the whole story, and then. It was after a month or 2 of writing it, it was I have got to see this thing through now. So
Well, so let me say to everybody listening that Ryan wrote a book and it's called Finally, an Infertility Book for Dudes. And it's brilliant and it's heartfelt and it's funny and there's some really great stories and there's, specific things that you guys went through, but a lot of relatable, universal themes and insights as well. So I'm so glad that you wrote it and that it's out there. Why did you find it so important to actually write this book? And I'm so glad that you did because I have a similar story in that I was looking for books and resources and I had such a hard time when I was going through this, 7-8 years ago and there was nothing. So, and there was even less for guys. So tell me about, how you even started with writing this and how everything's going.
Yeah, and that's kind of where it started after that IVF cycle and just looking for resources, something to connect with. I would post something on Instagram, something just hinting at infertility and stuff like that. And so many people would be like, thank you for sharing your story. It's so brave for you to speak about this and stuff. And Catie kind of mentioned earlier here that she's a little less open than I am. And I'm an open book about things here like this. So I was like, let's write this. It was a cathartic experience to start for me and to get everything out. And then it kind of just grew. There's not much out there for men. There's some books on, sperm health and male factor infertility and stuff like that, but nothing emotionally connecting with the journey or books about loss like there are a lot for women. So it was something I wanted to do. I talk about how when we first started trying to get pregnant, Catie bought me a bunch of books, the Rad Dad books and Dude, You're Going to Be a Dad. And I had read all those at the, back when we were 30.
When we thought we were going to get pregnant after 2 months.
Exactly.
And that's kind of, I mean,
the good old days.
Yeah. That's kind of my style and tone. And I was like, why is there not a book like this about infertility just to prepare people? I mean, there's research in it. There's talks about, the actual process and some of the scientific stuff around it. But, it's also telling our story and just kind of talking about infertility and all the funny stories of the day-to-day that may pop up, just kind of in that tone of something I can connect with. So,
right. I love how you say it's like your non-expert advice.
Oh,
which,
it is. And I'm not an expert on this. I mean, I was doing a lot of research on Saturday mornings, looking things up, and there is a bibliography in the back to give my resources and everything, where I found everything. Right. But I mean, I'm not an expert on it. I do say that, it's taken over my life for the past 5 years. I used to, write things for my fantasy football leagues and things like that. I'm not a writer, but, I wanted to get creative with it and make something that people can connect with and relatable and easy to read. It doesn't need to be there where you're sitting for 300 pages going through all the details of everything. Just
that's what I like about it. Is like it's laid back and it's funny, and you can kind of just even flip around. You don't have to like read it cover to cover. You can kind of dip in and out, and take cherry pick what you need. Which I think for a lot of guys, that's a good. They don't want to sit down, like you said, and read like a 300-page like tome about this. So now that it's out there, what's the reaction been, Ryan? Like, how's it going with like the book sales and like the reaching out to people? I'm sure people have been connecting with you from like all over the world.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing. I mean, people from all different stages of my life, like personal relationships that I've had with people reaching out that you just had no idea were going through something similar and feeling like they can speak with you. I mean, some really deep conversations where, again, it's like, I'm not an expert. It's like, am I the one that should be having this conversation with people that, it's getting so deep and beyond just surface level relationships. And you can just tell that, this guy was looking for someone to connect with about it. So it's been great. And it's been great from, I was nervous for some family to read some of the stuff because it is intimate and stuff like that.
Right.
But, the reaction there has been great. And there's a big community online. I mean, the community you've created and online with people reaching out. I've done some guest blog posts. I was lucky to be in the news one morning, which was really
saw
cool.
That segment. That was awesome.
That was cool. So it's been it's been going, and there's been a ton of great reaction. A lot of people really reaching out. And again, if it helps even a couple people just to figure out what might be ahead for them, or for someone that's gone through worse than we have, for something to relate to. A laugh at a story, it's just all worth it to be doing all this.
Totally. Has anybody surprised you and come out and said like, I went through this too, and like you had no idea?
Oh, I mean, for me, I've had people from high school because when we did our pregnancy announcement, I didn't want it to seem like, again, we tried for 3 months and got pregnant. So I'm very private with Ryan writing the book and everything. I was like, I need this post to be brutally honest and let people know like what we've been through. So when I posted that we were pregnant, I talked about the IUIs, the frozen embryo transfers, the endometriosis, and that I got a flood of like DMs from people.
Yeah.
And that like made me more confident and more like open to talk about our story.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, people from high school and stuff that not that you forget about, but you just haven't talked about in so long, and you maybe see some social media posts here and there. And I had a couple people even say like, oh, I saw your earlier post, like, earlier this year. And I almost said something then. I was going to say something then because I saw something and I didn't quite reach out, but now I see you writing this book. This is amazing. And they've reached out. So definitely people from, again, all different phases of my life, which is pretty cool to see them finally coming out. And again, you don't realize how many people are actually experiencing this, yet we keep it so private.
And what's been really cool too, is we've had friends that haven't dealt with infertility that just have bought the book to show support. And they've come to me or Ryan and been like, we didn't know you were going through all of this. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, was I insensitive, or I wish I could have been there more for you. And it's like, don't be sorry, because I would have told you if I needed something, Right. So it's really cool that people that have no idea about this whole world are also buying the book, and that they'll can be more open or
empathetic. Yep.
Yeah, we've had a couple cases too where they have friends too. They've mentioned it to some of their friend group or something like that, and they've, without us in the conversation, our friends with their other friends have had conversations about it because someone they know in their friend circle is experiencing infertility that they had no idea about, and it's like,
definitely.
Well, pretty amazing that you're making that connection with your friends or other family members because of something that
and they're now better equipped to communicate or support that person.
For sure.
Definitely. Well, everybody check out Finally an Infertility Book for Dudes. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere. Do you have a specific place, Ryan, that you want people to buy it from? Is there like a mom and pop or like a website that you prefer?
Amazon's the best spot. Just type Amazon, you'll find it.
And I'll put it in the show notes as well, so people can like link directly to it. So, okay, let's go back to the chronology of your story. So you did are you on to cycle 2 now?
Yes. So Ryan's every Saturday morning writing his book. We're back to getting the big box of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
For me, again, I think it's a coping mechanism, but I like blacked out and like forgot everything from the first cycle.
Yeah.
So I'm like rewatching the videos. I don't know how to do anything. Like it's the weirdest thing.
Right. And Catie, remind me, were you in Fertility Rally at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I probably joined as another outlet, like with Ryan writing his book. I think I was like, we were just like super sad. We had the miscarriage like right before we were moving into our new house too. And it was like Halloween and there's kids and we had neighbors that were like, "Oh, do you have kids?" And we were like, "No, we don't have kids."
Yeah, we got that question. Yeah.
That's horrible. So,
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to find something. So I actually found Fertility Rally through your podcast.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So that was probably the fall before going in. And then we had the last miscarriage in July of 2021. And then sad summer, recovering from that. And then that fall. So then you had found your resources through Fertility Rally. I was writing the book to deal with my emotions.
Yeah.
And we had started IVF cycle number 2 that fall, kind of going into the holidays, retrieval, the whole thing. We had 4 embryos frozen from that time. First cycle.
Which was, I was kind of surprised because I thought maybe once the endo was removed, we'd have more. I don't know if I was getting greedy or for some reason I was like, oh, I'm like way healthier now. So I kind of was disappointed with the 4.
Okay. That makes sense.
I was like traumatized from, we had 5 before and I thought, 5 kids. And now we have 4. I don't know.
What a different way to think about from the first time of 5, we're going to have 5 kids to 4, like, oh, we're in trouble.
Then in the back of your mind, right, there's probably like, or none. Like, what if this doesn't work out at all? Like, holy shit. And, there's that realization too.
Ryan was being a lot less positive. He was being a lot more realistic. Should we start looking at like adoption? I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And I'm like, we're doing this.
That's when the book was getting finished up at the end of the year. And that's how the book ends too, with me kind of talking about it, because none of this had all happened at that point. But we had done then we had the first frozen embryo transfer at some point that fall.
December.
It was December. Yeah, it was right around the holidays.
We were going to find out on like Christmas Eve if it worked.
So it was an interesting holiday season because typically we travel back east or here or there. And at that point, we were just kind of over it and just being super selfish. Like, this is what we're doing. Fertility treatment first. Everything else can go to hell. We just have to get this done.
But then we did. We went back to New Jersey.
Yeah, we did that December after. It was a week or 2 after the transfer, right?
Yeah, because it was just kind of like, even though we really want this to work, it can't rule our lives, right? So, and the doctor said flying after 2 weeks, it's not going to hinder anything. You'll be fine. The only thing that I did know, and because again, planner, every time we've done an FET, I get horrible migraines about 2 weeks after, like sick, like throwing up. And I was like, that's going to be Christmas Day.
Oh God.
On the East Coast.
On the East Coast with this family.
Oh.
And
that was like it was because, you do the pregnancy test after 10 days. I think it was like, we were leaving the next, it was like day 11 or 12, because we went and got the pregnancy test at the clinic. We came back right after, but it was like day 13.
It was way after. But what I did before we left, it was like day 5 or 6. I don't know, where you could tell if the pregnancy test could tell you if you're pregnant. But I took one, but I took a digital. And it said I wasn't pregnant.
Okay.
But later I found out that one was an early.
Oh, like an early response kind of thing.
Yeah. So
So were you crushed when you saw that? Or
no,
were you
because I crazily Googled it.
Okay.
Right after. And I was like, oh, I did it wrong. And then I just like pushed it away. And we went to New Jersey.
We didn't talk about it with anybody.
Yeah.
We didn't do any testing.
We didn't tell his parents that we had done. We didn't tell anyone we did it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Cancer. Yeah.
I think that was after being so excited the last time and telling everybody again.
Totally. It's exhausting to have to unwind all of that.
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
Because every person you tell, you have to relive it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
We went and we were super patient because, you just want to test, but we're like, let's not even do it. And Christmas Eve, we're like, should we test while we're here? We're like, nope, don't do it. Let's just enjoy this.
And then Christmas got canceled because like so many people got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan and I are like freaking out. I'm like wearing masks inside, a like crazy person because no one knows that we had embryo transfer.
Right.
We went, I mean, we were COVID safe the whole time, but we were like wearing gloves, like doing the whole thing. And
totally.
Like, what are you guys doing? We're like, we're being super safe because no one knows that you have the transfer.
Yeah.
While we're
right.
Cautious.
Yeah. So luckily
you're like in a full hazmat
we're
suit.
Doing like, we're doing
Christmas
like the
dinner.
thing.
They're like, what the hell's going on with
we're like,
Catie
we've
and
been in the
Ryan?
house together. I don't think, we should be safe. And we're like, no, you guys don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. But so Christmas Day was canceled because a bunch of people
around COVID exposure.
Yeah, got COVID exposure. We were safe.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like super sick that day. So I didn't even I think I slept the whole day, which was a good sign because that means, hopefully at least I was pregnant then. And then on December 29th is when we went and got our first beta and it was positive. And it was like numbers were like so big.
Yeah.
Because we had to wait so long, but also like, oh my gosh.
Right.
And then I think my doctor was like so scared too. So I think I had like 4 betas.
Yeah. Our after the mess up of last transfer, she was really rooting for us the whole time. She felt like she was really in our corner, and you could tell there was kind of a change with our second IVF cycle that she was, not that she was trying as hard as she could the whole time, but she was really rooting for us at this point to have a positive outcome, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So then, so the betas are going up and up and up. And were you guys, there's that thing where you get, the positive test, but after infertility and after loss, you still are like guarding your heart, right? Did you guys feel that way, like cautiously optimistic and all that?
Yeah, I think after we like passed where we had a loss before, that helped us gain more confidence. But I mean, still to this day, we're petrified, and I'm 38 weeks pregnant.
Right.
Yeah, so that one worked. I mean, we're due at the beginning.
So that was the one that stuck, right?
Yes.
Baby Smith.
Big surprise.
Baby's way. Do we know the gender of the baby? You don't have to say if you don't want to.
It's a girl.
It's a girl, baby girl.
Yeah.
So we're really excited, but it might have been like a month ago that it was finally like, okay, I guess we're here, and this is the whole thing. I mean, just all the heartbreak and
yes,
you hear horrible stories. So I mean, even I'm watching Virgin River right now, and there's so many traumatizing things on that show.
I haven't seen it.
Don't watch it if you're in dealing with infertility.
Yeah.
Good advice.
I still get triggered by stuff. And my Sonny is 6.5 after IVF. But that's thanks for the warning. All right. No one watched that show.
Yeah. It's really good, but there's like so many horrible infertility things. And I'm like, oh my God, there needs to be a warning here.
Totally.
But yeah, I think my one friend that went through infertility, she said she literally didn't feel real until she held her baby.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's going to be for me, because I haven't even yet, again, I'm not a big crier, but I haven't even gone to the nursery and been crying because I'm so excited or happy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant. That's weird.
Yeah.
So
what about you, Ryan? Have you had a crying moment, a breakdown or anything?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, those first 4, 5, 6 months, the whole time, it still just felt like the science experiment that is IVF and infertility, and just being careful and cautiously optimistic, like we've said so many times about it. So I mean, it's definitely kicked in the past month with all we've done. So it feels real now, but I don't think the tears will come until she's here. But it's weird too, being, doing this book and being part of this whole, community now. And then you feel weird that you're pregnant. You feel so lucky and strange about it. Today that they were recording is National Rainbow Baby Day, and just, what do I post about this? And in this position where now, I have a decent amount of followers and this book out there, it's strange because you feel so bad for so many other people that are still going through it, but you have to be happy for yourself. So I would say the past month it started to feel real, but it would be interesting if we never went through this, what pregnancy would feel like if we had never been infertile in the beginning, how different our emotions would be around it all. But definitely there. The nervousness.
Well, I went through that because my daughter, I didn't have infertility. And that was just like, I'm pregnant. Like I was so happy. I didn't have any of the anxiety. It's such a different
I'm just like, how is that? Like, what is your life like without worrying?
Yeah. It's like ignorance is bliss almost, you have no idea how many other people have it so hard. So many different stories. And Ryan, you have to write now, finally, a pregnancy and fatherhood book for dudes.
Exactly.
About the second part of the journey. And then you're going to just have to
series.
Yeah, there might be. I fully endorse it. I think there should be. Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time. You guys are both so awesome. And Catie, I'm so glad that you found us and that you're part of the Rally fam that you both are. Before we wrap, tell me guys, for people listening right now, what do you guys wish you would have known at the very beginning of your story that you might be able to share with somebody?
I would say communicate with your partner. Even if it's the littlest things, be open to communication, and then even if it's like one friend, or like I found Fertility Rally. You can't do this alone. I tried for 2 years and then I was like a depressed mess. And I also learned a lot from Fertility Rally because that's when I advocated to get the RECEPTIVA test, the ERA. And, who knows if I wouldn't have had that support system, what I would have done. I wouldn't have had those tests.
Yeah, right. Support huge for you in Fertility Rally. I mean, I've seen a change in you from all that.
Way more confident with like speaking up about what I need for my like any procedures or the baby.
Yeah. And I would say for me, just learning how hard it is to get pregnant and setting expectations has been the biggest thing I would say to people, is just be prepared with what you're going through. I mean, some of the procedures Catie had to go through and we were expecting her to go back to work that day was just so dumb looking back at it. Setting expectations with IVF, with IUIs, it just, there's not unnecessary heartbreak when you do the wrong expectations. So research what you're going through, be prepared to deal with what's ahead, and just do the best you can to research what you may have to experience during your journey, because that was definitely a big thing. There were so many shocks that were just so unnecessary for us.
Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you to Catie and Ryan. Cannot wait to see pictures of your babe. You guys, I can't appreciate you guys enough. I can't thank you enough. I do appreciate you is what I'm trying to say. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, I want you guys to join Fertility Rally if you're looking for a safe space to land. It is our community. We've got 4 support groups a week. We've got 3 private Facebook groups. We are doing IRL and virtual events all the time. It is what I wish I had when I was going through it. It's this badass sisterhood. And it's just the thing that makes all the difference to me for people who are going through this. So give yourself the gift of support. Check out our membership. It's open now through September 8th. And you can check us out on Instagram at Fertility Rally, or you can go to our website, fertilityrally.com. You can also DM me if you have any questions at Infertile AF Stories. And also, if you have 2 seconds to rate and review the podcast, that really helps us get noticed too. So thanks so much. You guys are awesome. I'll talk to you next time.